This recipe is our umami-rich Napa cabbage rolls stuffed with rice and pork. It's an Asian riff on an Eastern European classic, and it hits all the same comfort notes as traditional cabbage rolls, but it just has a lot more umami depth thanks to some of our favorite global pantry products. One thing I love about this recipe is that it's great for a dinner party because you can make it ahead and reheat it, or you could kind of make it halfway through and then bake it shortly before your guests arrive. Now it starts with a cabbage, and we have a big boy here from Melissa's, thank you. This is a Napa cabbage, and what I love about this is it's much easier to pull these leaves off than with the traditional head of green cabbage. If you've ever done that before, you know what I'm talking about. So I'll just start. We're gonna peel off the leaves, and I wanna take a little bit of the stem end off because it's less pliable than the rest of it. So just cut a little bit of that off. I'm just gonna start pulling off leaves, trimming them. It's okay if they're a little bit torn up like that. That doesn't matter. Once you roll the leaves together, you won't even see that. I want to get a few extras. We need 16 for the recipe, but I'm going to pull off 18 in case some just don't quite do right. Now I've rinsed this cabbage, so there's a little bit of water still clinging to it, and that's great. It's going to help the leaves steam. We're going to pile them here and then microwave them for a few minutes just to soften them. I have all the leaves piled on the plate here, and I've just kind of loosely covered them with plastic wrap. You don't have to wrap them tightly. I mentioned before that I was working with a large head of Napa cabbage, and that's important because you're going to have to pull off at least 18 leaves from it. So you want to make sure you have a big enough head that you'll get some good sized leaves. I'm going to microwave this on high for 5 minutes to soften the leaves. To make the filling, I have some ground pork, and we got some nice fatty ground pork from the Asian market. A lot of times the pork you get at the supermarket is really lean, so if possible, find a fattier type of ground pork. I also have some shredded carrots, some sliced scallions, and some cooked jasmine rice. We cooked our own jasmine rice, but as a shortcut, if you want to use the pouch pre-cooked rice, that works fine. I'm going to add to this some garlic that I've minced up, some fish sauce. Here I have kosher salt and freshly ground white pepper. Now I want to spend a moment to talk about the white pepper. We like to freshly grind ours from the peppercorn state. If you have a mortar and pestle, you can do that very easily and quickly. Just takes a few little go rounds to get a nice mixture of ground white pepper. You can go fairly fine here. Now the white pepper is one of the things that, coupled with the fish sauce, that gives this filling the flavor of a spring roll, which we love. Now I like to use my hands for mixing. If you don't like to do that, you can certainly use a spatula. You could wear gloves, but I like to use my hands because I can mix things better, more quickly, more efficiently. So all this just gets mixed together. We've got that fish sauce that's very fragrant. And like I said, the white pepper that also is aromatic and gives this that wonderful flavor that we're looking for. The leaves softened up really nicely in the microwave, and now it's time to stuff them. So I'm just going to place them here. You want 2 leaves for each cabbage roll, and you're just going to kind of overlap them like this. I have this filling here, and what I like to do is, I know that I'm going to have 8 cabbage rolls total, so I kind of like to make these little partitions in the filling to help me sort of more evenly distribute the filling. So I sort of cut it into quarters, and then I cut each of those into halves, and that shows me how to kind of evenly distribute the filling. So I'm going to put a little blob, that's the technical term, of filling here in the center of these 2 cabbage leaves. I'm going to roll this leaf here over and then just continue to roll. There's that seam. I'm going to kind of hold it in, roll it all the way over so the seam's on the bottom, tuck the ends in a little bit, and then this goes into a 13 by 9 inch baking dish that I have coated with cooking spray. The sauce for these cabbage rolls is broth-based instead of tomato-based like you might be used to. So I have some unsalted beef stock here. I'm going to add to that one of our favorite Global Pantry ingredients. This is oyster sauce. It's thick and glossy and full of savory flavor. So that goes in, and then the last ingredient to add more umami depth is some Korean toasted sesame oil. It's super nutty and fragrant, just adds so much flavor, and you don't need a ton of it. I'm just going to whisk this together, and I'll pour it over the rolls. All that good flavor is going to meld together in the oven. Okay. Then I cover this with foil. I'm going to bake it at 375 for an hour. The cabbage rolls have cooked for an hour now, so they're going to be nice and hot, perfectly cooked. And the sauce is still pretty brothy. It's always going to be brothy. It's not going to be a thick sauce, but we still want to reduce it down a little bit and just concentrate the flavors a little more. So I'm going to put it back in the oven for 15 minutes uncovered. Okay, these guys are ready to plate up. Each serving is a generous 2 rolls, unless, you want to have a little less. You could always go with 1 roll. I'm going to make sure to get some of this luscious sauce. So, as I said before, it's brothy, but it has reduced down a little bit so that the flavors are more concentrated. Now the finishing touch is optional, but highly, highly recommended. It's a spoonful of spicy chili crisp, one of our favorite finishing touches. All right, it's time to cut in. I'm gonna transfer some of my yummy chili crisp over here. The cabbage is super tender. The filling looks just perfect. I've had this so many times and I still love it. I'm very excited to eat it. Okay. It's so good.